Hey everybody, what's happening? I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. Holy heck. People, I don't know what you've been doing all day, but my friend Shaun Attwood just had a live feed with a live interview with Jaguar Wright. If you have followed the Diddy case in any way, shape, or form, you've come across videos of Jaguar Wright. Even if you haven't followed the Diddy case, you've probably come across videos of Jaguar Wright. Jaguar is, according to her, for at least the last 4 years, she has been raging a war against Diddy, telling us all of the same kind of things that we're seeing coming out now in the press. There is, and I'm going to say hello to everybody here in a minute. So if you're one of those people that can't stand me doing roll call, I'm so sorry. But this is one of those situations where I'm going to tell you what I think, and hopefully we all remain friends afterwards, because this is one of those things that polarizes. This is one of those things that gets audiences going really hard in one way or really hard in another. Is what it is. Count of St. Germain, what's happening? Chase the Heat, what's going on? It's Johnny Scoville. Cindy Plumley, how are you? Katie Did, good to see you. Swedish Alina, Shannon Smith, Miss G, hello Anna, glad that you're here. Hope you're getting some sleep. Marmelo. Mrs. G. Hello, Mrs. G. Sandy Wendy, good to see you. What's happening? Tribe Called Duff, Lisa Hill, Brown Spotted Eagle, Allison Metcalf Palumbo, YB Normal, Patricia. If you're wondering why I do this, by the way, because this channel is about the people on it. Straight up. Sorry if that bums you out. But the Lifeboat truly isn't a true crime channel, never has been. It's about living your best life. I cover things because it helps us find individuals of like mind. We find them because a lot of people really dig true crime. Steph, good to see you. Patricia, what's happening? I am Cordy. How are you? Monica, good to see you, Monica. Well, all right then. Sherry LeBron, how are you? Apparently I can skip a name or two, according to some people here. Danette McClure, how are you? I'm glad you're here. So, first of all, did you get over there and check this out? Am I talking to a group of people that didn't see this? Because I'll tell you something. I'm gonna highlight some things that were said that I don't know, people. I'm not trying to disparage Charlie Muffins. Good to see you, Charlie. I'm not trying to disparage this woman at all. I'm not. I have always said from the very first time that I saw her that I am a fan. Right? I'm a fan. No two ways about it. Susie, good to see you, Susie Q. I'm a fan of what she does. I think she is one of the all-time great communicators. I'm not joking. I think she's one of the all-time great communicators. An hour and a half goes by like that, and you find yourself going, wow, like, where did the time go? But a lot of the stuff that she says is sensational. Occasionally, one of you will send me an email that says, you say allegedly too much. I find it annoying. To maintain this and continue to do what I do, I'm going to try to not put out information that isn't verified, because that kind of stuff gets you deplatformed. Right? That kind of stuff does get you deplatformed. Worst, right? Best, you're going to have to take down a video. And I'll be honest, I don't know about the video that was just done, because there weren't a lot of allegedlys, people. There weren't. This woman talks as if everything she is saying is a stone cold fact. And do you know what? It might be, right? It might be. I'm not, honestly, I don't know where to come down on this. Do you? Shannon Smith says, I loved his mods saying allegedly over and over again. One mod in particular, who I won't put on blast, but I think about once every 45 seconds for the entire show, a mod wrote allegedly, 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 because it's a scary thing. Thank you, Sherry LeBon. I want to tell you something. I thought that show would get 10,000 views. I really did. It's so fascinating to me how YouTube works, because I did a show yesterday on the Menendez brothers, whether or not they're going to be walking out. And by all accounts and everything that's leaked, the Menendez brothers are going to go free. And we did a discussion, very heated, right? Honestly, because it's passionate, not heated, passionate didn't get heated because this is a very respectful group of people. But we had a large group coming down on one side and a large group coming down on the other. And I think that it was wild to watch people disagree without yelling at each other and calling each other names, you know. Steph says, we sing allegedly at my house. You know something? I'm not bummed out about it. There are some people that are. I am going to keep saying allegedly because I'd like to be doing this a year from now. I don't want to see this thing get shut down, right? I really don't. You know what? Tribe Called Duck. I promise you, I think it's a really good, I'm proud of that video, but a lot of times you do videos that you're proud of that nothing happens with. Sent you an email, Janet Jackson on The View, talking about a conversation with brother Michael and Whoopi, stopping Janet from saying names. I am looking forward to seeing that. Recently, right, at Jaguar Wright tore into Oprah Winfrey, right, on the show that she just did. She talked about a lot of things that really bummed her out. She talked about the fact that she didn't think Monique was treated very well by Oprah. She also said that Oprah really went out of her way to destroy the legacy of Michael Jackson, and that she did the same thing to destroy the legacy of Luther Vandross. I can't tell you anything about either of those. I have opinions, honestly, but I've voiced my opinions on these in the past. Brown Spotted Eagle says, I'm curious to know why she hasn't sued. You know, and I think that there are a lot of people who are saying very similar stuff. Now, in her defense, up until about 2 months ago, this was a crime family of sorts, right? No, not much different than the mob, which is why it's being prosecuted as if it is like the mob. They're RICOing this. So she very well may have been fearing for her life. I think it's wild how open she is these days talking about things. A lot of you know, I talked about it here on the show. She went on with Piers Morgan, and she made some comments about Beyonce and about Jay-Z. She alleged that they're just as filthy as Diddy, if not worse. And he came back on and did a apology. Hold on one second. Anyone tearing into Oprah gets my vote. What she did to Monique was utterly disgraceful. She should be ashamed. Well, I've always been a little creeped out by Oprah, and there's never been a time where I didn't find her a little bit freaky. There's something about her that just gives me the creeps, and it's always been that way, sadly. Now, I'm basing that on how I feel about the woman. What she did to Monique was filthy. It really was, and everybody talks about that. You know, the girl was expected to go on a world tour promoting a film and to do it for free. And I can't begin to tell you how bad it sucks living in hotel rooms. I don't know if you've ever done that for an extended period of time. But if you go on the road and you spend 3 to 4 months just going from one hotel to the next, it is miserable. Honestly, it is one of the most miserable things in the world. Martha, good to see you. Glad you're here. So how about some of the other really crazy stuff? And I'm saying crazy because these are allegations that are so wild. I'm sorry, people, but these are wild. Allegedly, there was a Philadelphia judge who retired 4 years ago. If you're a sleuth, she said up until about 4 years ago. Right? And I haven't had time to chase this down because it just ended, but I'm going to try and see if we can't figure out who that judge was. But she said that up until he retired about 4 years ago, she could walk into his court and by simply doing, you know, what Caesar used to do, right? When they would bring in the Christians and the lions, a thumbs up or a thumbs down would determine whether or not the convict or the accused would become a convict. That's some heavy stuff. Apparently, allegedly, she beat this guy for sexual enjoyment. She was a dominatrix of sorts with this individual and had been sent there. That's what she said. She had been sent there to do this. She was sent there to record him. She was sent there to get dirt on him. And all she had to do if she wanted somebody to walk was simply enter the courtroom. This is what has been alleged. That to me is pretty unbelievable, right? This is something to me that is, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but those are the kind of allegations that when you hear, you go, holy crap. I'm not saying I don't think this kind of stuff goes on, because I do think this kind of stuff goes on, right? I really do. But she seems like a person that would have come forward. She seems like that she'd have blown the whistle on that, right? Up until 4 years ago. What? I don't know. I'm super freaked out by this. I really am. That one in particular, because I've gone in front of many a judge. And the idea that somebody could have walked in there and done this number and I'd have walked out the front door is a pretty amazing concept. It really is. It's a pretty amazing concept. Dastardly Saboteur says Oprah has a God complex, in my opinion, allegedly. I got to agree with you. Tampa B, you know something? Those are subjects that I would love to tackle. I really would. And we may do it at some point down the road, because I think we're a fairly mature audience, but we'll see how it goes. Because these days we do talk about some stuff that are unbelievable. I think there will be more of those holy crap moments in the future, in my opinion, says Brown Spotted Eagle. And I got to agree, because I've been watching Jaguar for a long time now, and the stories don't change, but she lets more out and more out and more out and more out. And it seems like every time she talks, we learn a little bit more. For instance, are you ready? For those of you who are in the ex-Scientology community, the SPTV community, this one will get to you. We have all heard that allegedly Diddy's got a pool underneath his house, right? What used to be a pool. And it has tunnels in it that are leading to other homes. According to Jaguar Wright, those tunnels have been there since the Aleister Crowley days. And that L. Ron Hubbard himself had spent time down underneath that home in that little area. Now, she didn't say that Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard were down there together, but that was kind of the inference that I got. Those two, according to a lot of digging, never met one another, right? They never met one another. Crowley said some pretty foul stuff about him too. He wasn't a fan of L. Ron Hubbard, but allegedly L. Ron Hubbard has been in that little pool area underneath Diddy's house. Now, is that really unbelievably hard to believe? No, honestly, it's not. Because in the early days, we know that guy was a freak, right? They were doing sex magic rituals for the purpose to try to bring an evil entity into the world. Now, Miss Wright said today, allegedly, that there's a bunch of satanic crap that goes on with these people. That this is very much, this is one of those things, people, that whatever side you come down on, right? Whatever side you come down on, I'm nervous that there are so many people who are a part of this. If I said, name the 4 most famous people that you can think comment about Diddy, certainly Jaguar Wright's name is going to come up. Certainly Cat Williams' name would come up, right? Orlando Brown, not Orlando Bloom, but Orlando Brown, his name would probably come up. It's a recurring theme that a lot of these people, folks will say that person's crazy or that person's insane. It's really odd to me that, that's a stretch, right? Why is it that everybody near this, well, maybe they're not all insane, right? Maybe it just sounds insane because so much of what they've got going on, right? So much of this is so frigging unbelievable, right? That this kind of Caligula crap was taking place in 2024. And that, by all accounts, it's been going on for a very, very long time. This is pretty colossal stuff. This is the kind of stuff that gets people talking in a very big way. He said, allegedly, Sean Carter has been trying to visit Sean Combs at the men's detention center in Brooklyn, right? recently. She made it sound as if, because she said, why did he wait so long? Right? Well, apparently, according to Jaguar Wright, she alleges that Diddy is refusing to see Mr. Carter because he has not been much of a friend through all of this. She, of course, alleges that this conspiracy, this stuff that they had going on, involves a hell of a lot more people, right? A hell of a lot more people. She said Clive Davis and Quincy Jones should probably be spending life behind bars. Probably too old to see that happen, she said, but she alleges that these freaks were the start of it all, right? This is, people, the kind of stuff that gets people talking, right? This is the kind of stuff that gets people riled up. Let's be honest. It gets people riled up. What I would ask is that if you're on either side of this equation, right? If you're on either side of this, suspend disbelief in the other side. If you think that Jaguar Wright and the rest of them are all full of crap and that this is a money grab, because right now there's a lot of money to be made talking about this stuff, right? So if that's what you think, I would ask you to suspend that, right? And listen to some of the allegations and realize that there are 4-year-old videos where these allegations were being made, right? It's weird when you look back through and from today's vantage point and you hear someone that was talking about this before anybody else was talking about this. I think you have to kind of give the benefit of the doubt to someone that has been leading the charge in this. And if you were talking about this 4 years ago on the regular, he was walking the street. You understand? He was walking the street. And if the stuff that allegedly he has been accused of, he has done, that's like flying in the face of Don Corleone, right? This was the godfather of this crooked operation that they're RICOing. Yeah. Yeah. So if she was piping about this for 4 years, well, 3.5 of them he was on the street. I think that's fairly impressive, and it buys a little bit of credibility with me. A Tribe Called Duff says, is there any updates on the Audie guy? Not that I have currently, although he's being talked to, and he's going to guaranteed this cat's on the witness list, right? Guaranteed he's going to end up on the witness list because this is a guy who, once again, sounded pretty ridiculous. When you saw this guy, he had just finished shooting up a hotel owned by the former president, right? Put a big American flag on the front desk. He acted really kind of kooky, and in the process, fired at some law enforcement. And I don't know how much you know about our judicial system, but if you pull a pew-pew and point it at the good guys, right, that's the kind of crap that you do a lot of time for. Mr. Audie is looking at, right? These are charges that you don't get out on. So it's hard cutting a deal with somebody that fired upon agents. That's just a really hard thing to do. People that shoot at law enforcement don't get a lot of love. That being said, this is a guy who, when he was being interviewed by the feds years ago, said, I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 2018 is when that took place. Can somebody check that for me? I think it was 2018. Wendy Williams absolutely started letting it all out, and when she did, Diddy, this is lore, right? Everybody that follows this case knows this story. This is when Wendy Williams allegedly had a picture of him in a compromising position taken in an island. And the compromising position was allegedly somebody had pantsed him. Remember people doing stuff like that in high school? So there was a man kind of standing behind him and his drawers were down. And it was not a good look. And she had said something about releasing it, and he got her fired. Straight up got her fired. Got her run out of town. A Tribe Called Duff said, sounded ridiculous 4 years ago, but geez, sounds a lot different today. Because you look at the guy, this is Audie we're talking about. I'm not a woman, but this guy didn't impress me as being a particularly handsome fella, right? He didn't, look particularly like like somebody you would assume being a professional sex worker. But that's what he was claiming. He was claiming that he had been hired to be a sex slave. The word he used was sex slave. Well, that sounded pretty stupid in 2018, right? Sounded kind of crazy in 2018. Didn't sound so crazy in 2024, right? Shannon Smith makes a good point, says male porn stars are not very attractive. And you make a good point, right? Usually that's not the part of the equation that they're staring at. So, yeah, I mean, point well taken. Point well taken. We can make Diddler on the roof look ridiculous, like the coolest cutter at camp. Yup. You know something? We are, in my humble opinion, I still don't know who RICO is. If you're talking about the RICO charges, RICO is an acronym for a recurring, right, corrupt organization act. Racketeering influenced corrupt organization act. That's what RICO is. It was put in place by the federal government to allow the government to charge an entire group of people for one crime. Let's say you have a crime family, and sitting at the top of that crime family is Tommy Scoville. And Tommy orders down through the chain of command that 2 people get rubbed out. Take these people out to a field, right? Put one in them and bury them. Well, everybody in the organization, people that had no idea that that order was going down, they can charge everybody. If they can prove that you're all part of this same dirty organization, and that you're all pulling in the same direction for an illegal cause. This is what RICO does. And it's allowing the federal government to look at Sean Combs and Bad Boy. And Bad Boy there's a bunch of Bad Boys. You understand this? There's Bad Boy Records, there's Bad Boy Productions, there's Bad Boy, there's just a ton of them. But right? All of those entities, Sean Combs being the top of, that this is a crime organization, and that this crime organization was using sex as a weapon, and also that people were being flown all over the place and people were being coerced to do what they do. They would very much like to get the video of Cassie at that hotel right by the elevators. They need that thrown out more than they need their next breath of oxygen. Because if that gets thrown out, then a very large part of this, right, that's proof that there's coercion there. She fears for her life. She was trying to leave, allegedly, she was trying to leave a freak off. And if that's the case, if she was trying to leave a freak off and that is how she's treated, well, that's coercion, isn't it? You're afraid that if you say, no, I'm not going to do this, a full-sized grown man is going to punch, kick, and try to throw a vase at you and hit you. And guess what, folks? That wasn't the first time that went down, right? Allegedly. Tons of people say that she would have to stay in hotel rooms until the bruising was over. You like the diddler on the roof? I thought that was pretty good too. Yes, I did. And this is kind of creepy as hell because the Bad Boy Record logo does look a lot like the Billiken. There's some truth to that. It's pretty messed up. Tampa Bay, 1 year, huh? Congrats, Tampa Bay. I love that. I really do. Time flies when you're having fun, does it not? So here's the question, people. Here's the question. Johnny Scoville, my brother, just he put something up earlier that said, I lost a wallet 20 years ago. I wanted to ask Jaguar if she had any information on where it is, right? Obviously, he's making a joke. And the joke was that she seems to know everything, right? She seems to be so beautifully tied into this that she knows everything. And I think that there are people who are slightly put off by that. And there are people who are thinking to themselves, I really hope that you testify. I really hope that all of this has been handed over to the authorities because this lowlife, especially if he could get that tape thrown out, right? He gets that tape thrown out, and that changes the complex of this, right? Really. Imagine a jury that doesn't see that tape. Then they can watch him get on the stand and go, I never touched her. I never hit her. I never did. You probably remember him doing that prior to that tape being leaked. Then he came out with a whole different tune. Hey, Anna Banana, good to see you. On another note, a jury with alternates has been impaneled for Sarah Boone. Opening statements tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. One of our friends' stations, Surviving the Survivor. Joel is there, so he will be, I believe he's live streaming that, and that'll be worth checking out. For real, that would be worth checking out. I know a lot of you are following that case. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Steph. I hope you enjoy the cruise. Yes, Hannah Banana. Everybody is saying thank you, and you know what? I think I appreciate that as well. I really do. I know that they were. I spoke to Joel today. Actually, we were texting back and forth, and he was really hoping that this was going to be finished today. He wants this to get underway. As he said, he knew that if he went to this trial, all hell would break loose. Look at all of the things that have been happening since Joel headed down there. It's really been, there's a lot going on. Katie Did says, stories told as Jane Doe's said or other people said, all of a sudden is Jaguar Wright saying it is her and her story. I believe the bad Diddy stuff. I just don't know how much I believe Jaguar Wright. Now, I absolutely respect either side of the equation that somebody comes down on, especially if they word it like this, right? You come here and go, shoes full of, there's no place for that. We're trying to have a healthy conversation. And I agree with you, right? Let's talk about some things that are really, really out there. Allegedly, she may have saved some people from Epstein Island. She said that on another program, right? So you start saying to yourself, okay, so you knew that island was there, right? The idea that somebody saved somebody from that island means that you knew what that island was, right? That makes for a really weird and interesting conversation. And it also makes you start saying, you're really playing with your life. If all of that is true, like if you got stuff that to the Epstein case, I promise you, right? What they say allegedly happened to him didn't happen to him, right? That dude got snuffed. The term Epstein himself has come to mean an S that isn't an S, right? It's one of those things where somebody gets stabbed 65 times, and they say yes, he decided to take his own life, right? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. She seems to know too much to not be involved herself, says Shannon Smith. See. This is a really key point, and I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody, but once again, if we go back and we say, I was hired, right? I was hired to record him. I was hired to get dirt on him. I was hired so that I could manipulate him. That is the judge who 4 years ago retired. Who hired you? I'm not trying to be, right? I think that did your brother get his wallet back? No, because he never got the question asked. See, that was the problem, right? That was the problem. Oh, how cool. I love these lives about true crime, but first and foremost, here is where I got help to lose 18 kilos, and I'm still keeping it off. Changed my life. You know what? I love that, people. I love that. Congratulations, Anka. That is beautiful. It really is. And it does remind us of why we do what we do. Monica says, what is so sad and disgusting is that the behavior of these degenerates is normal to them, right? Questions need to be asked of Jaguar Wright. And I'd love to be able to interview the woman because there's just a couple of questions that really need to be asked. For instance, who hired you? You were hired, right, to compromise a judge. By whom? I think that's a really important question, right? That's a really important question. Big up, Anka. Thank you, Tribe Called Duff. Agreed. Very, very cool. This is a very serious question, right? Now, is she working with the prosecution? She chose to not answer that question. And I'll be honest with you, there aren't a lot of questions that she doesn't answer, right? There's something really telling in that is the only question she seemed uncomfortable with. Cindy Plumley, good to see you. And I appreciate everybody and where they come down on this. My thing is, right? I'm a public speaker. I try to do what I do here as entertaining as possible, right? I try to do this in such a way so that people like to hang out and listen, right? Maybe become friends with the people in the chat, gives people something to do, right? She is incredible at what I do, right? She's masterful at what I do. She can keep an audience that, what we have, 13,000 people were in the live chat. And those 13,000 people, did you watch what happened when she left and someone else came on, who, by the way, super talented, super articulate, hell of an attorney, right? Got a great spiel, funny, really different, right? Instantly, people were like, yeah, right? Because Jaguar has a way of connecting with people that is really, really incredible. It's pretty wild stuff, in my opinion. But when you're that good at communicating, people start to wonder if it's a script. People start to wonder if, and it's human nature, by the way. Very few people know this more than a public speaker. If you spend 6 months getting on stage 3 times or 4 times a week and doing the exact same thing, you find things out. You find things out like, if I say this word this way, I get a laugh. If I don't say this word this way, or if I pause just a little bit longer in one section, it really does a number on the audience, right? And you learn these things as you go. And I feel like over the last 4 years, a lot of these stories have really gotten to the point where the polish on them is incredible. It doesn't make them not true. I'm not calling her on that. It's not what I'm trying to say. But over the last 4 years, these have absolutely gotten better, right? The stories have gotten better. And I don't necessarily even mean the content, but she knows where to put the emphasis, right? To really hold an audience and to take them wherever she wants them to go. She can get you riled up, right? She can get you really riled up. I find myself pissed. She's talking about certain things in the industry. When she starts talking about Bashir Gray, when she starts talking about the alleged people that had been mentored by some big names in that industry, right? And this mentoring usually involved some kind of sodomy, sadly, but that's the reality here, right? I find myself gritting my teeth when she's telling these stories. And then there are other times where I'm laughing, because the ways that she tells some of these stories and the way she embarrasses some of these people, it's seemingly to have absolutely zero respect for the people in this industry and zero fear, which is pretty odd, with everything we were finding out, right? This is a really, really brave woman, like brave to a fault. Yeah, stuck to the script like ticks, Dianetics Thetans caught in a trap, getting eaten by a black widow spider. You know what? There is, and I'm not busting any chops. I'm not. But there are questions that need to be asked, right? The possibility that she went into courtrooms and sent innocent people to prison needs to be explored. I'm sorry, right? If you say that out loud, allegedly, we probably need to know who hired you, right? Because who can pull that off, right? Who can pull that off? Who's pulling strings at the level where you get a judge put in there that likes to, have a lollipop and get spanked with a frozen fish or whatever this dude was into, right? Creepy sexual stuff, right? All right, who's paying you? Who hired you? I'm really curious. And where is the transition? I'm not being a dick. I'm just curious. Where is the transition from sex worker to unbelievable singer? The woman's got pipes, Right? If you've never heard her sing, this is not a woman that needs auto-tune. She's a singer. Like, for real. She really does have pipes. Shannon Smith asks a question that, you know what? This is a question that needs to be asked. I'm sorry. The question was asked of Jaguar Wright, do you fear people making attempts on your life? And her answer was, and this is paraphrased, but it's pretty close, that they've tried to take her out 10 times. And for a period of time, she was severely doped up and in a chair. There's a lot that comes out of her mouth that, honest to God, it's like if you're taking notes, every single thing she says, you got to take a note on. There's nothing that this woman says that doesn't either show you something with what she said or show you something with what she didn't say, right? But the other thing that scares me is, like I've done 4 shows with Shaun, I think now, right? We've done 4 shows together, and I dig it. I really do. I love being over on Shaun's show. But 2 or 3 occasions, he's asked me a question about a person's name I've never heard of, right? Now, maybe somebody in the audience knows that industry a hell of a lot better than I do, or whatever the case may be. But if I don't know it, I don't know it. I'm amazed by someone that never answers a question with, I don't know. I'm amazed by somebody with as many interviews as I've seen who never goes, yeah, I don't even have an opinion on that, right? That's a pretty rare thing. I'm an opinionated SOB. I'll tell you what, man, I'm opinionated. I got opinions on everything, but there are things I'm not going to weigh in on. There are things I'm just going to say, yeah, who are you talking about? Who? I have a feeling sometimes when she answers questions with an answer like, I'll answer that the next time we get together, I feel like maybe she's taking the time to go find out who that person was. If I sound like a jerk, I'm not trying to, but I'm looking at this and I'm just trying to do this from pure logic. Tampa B is a huge friend of the lifeboat. Allowed hope and light to peek through. Tampa B, you mean the world to me, and you mean the world to this channel. You really do. Amazingly, I've met Tampa B. I'm going to meet a lot of people, but I have met Tampa B, and she is as beautiful in real life as she is in the chat, which is always amazing to me. You know something? I mean, can you argue this? Honestly, as you start to go down the rabbit hole in either direction, right? I've spent a lot of time thinking about Jaguar Wright. I've spent a lot of time looking at her stuff, and I'll be honest, I'm telling you straight up right now, I can't tell you. I don't know. And that to me is amazing. I really pride myself, especially since becoming sober, that every once in a while, someone will get one by me. You know what I mean? I got burned last year. I told the story. I got burned last year helping somebody get on medical assisted treatment who managed to, I put the money in to where he was going for medical assisted treatment, and he managed to get that money kicked back to him, which I learned. And you know, the reason I'm not mad at the guy is because it's his disease that did it to me. It's not him. And I have done the exact same thing to people in different ways, and I should have been smarter. But the point is, there was almost a point of admiration where I was like, I'll be damned, right? He slid one by me. Dude just got me for about $300, man. And I'm not that guy. I really am not that guy. I spent a lot of my life as a con man. I feel like I spend a decent amount of time being able to pick those people off like this. Jaguar's incredible because I don't know whether or not she is absolutely BSing our socks off, or she is so tied into this case that they don't need anybody else, right? This would be the witness. Allegedly, you need to have a few powerful individuals in certain professions to blackmail to clean things up. Well, I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree. If you're going to clean something up, you better have a couple of big hitters, a couple of heavy hitters better be sitting ready to help you out. But how do you get those heavy hitters? right? And who's doing it? Who is doing it? That when she said, I was hired to record him, I was hired to get dirt on him, right? By who? By who? And maybe answering that is something that would be far too dangerous, right? However, in a RICO case, he'd be looking at either being a witness or a defendant, because for all intents and purposes, she told us that she helped fix a bunch of trials. Isn't that what? Did I hear that or did I not catch that? Like her job was to go in while she was beating this dude with a riding crop, right? A quote that she couldn't count how many times he said, hit me harder. I don't deserve to live. I sent an innocent man to prison today. That was something that she said. I don't think I'm being a dick when I say that that's part, you're part of a cog. That is part. If you were RICO'd, trust and believe you're getting charged. Unless you were the person that was going to go in there and say, let's cut a deal because I was deep involved in this. I was the one getting all the dirt on the judge. I'm not trying to be that guy, but you got to be that guy. If you're sitting in these chairs, you kind of got to be that guy. And when somebody says something like that, I don't know. It's so imagine all the others, how afraid they are. If he's protected by those people with so much power, friends of him attending to his parties, just saying, this is why radio silence from every person who knows him, right? I wasn't around during the Me Too movement, right? I wasn't around during the Me Too movement. I was locked in prison. But my understanding is that this is when the whole virtue signaling, like everybody felt the need to go, oh, I'm disgusted by that. Like if a person that you knew had anything to do with something like that, you wanted to come out and say, we were friends for a long time or whatever, but what he did, there's no excuse for that. It's absolutely disgusting, right? Nobody's saying that, right? He doesn't have a friend left on planet Earth that wants to come out and comment on this. I find that very odd. Don't you? I find that really odd. But think of what happens. The feds come out and say, every room in the house has been recorded. And he's probably been doing that for decades. And every person that's been to a Diddy party went, holy every room? Because I was in some rooms. And I was in some rooms doing some stuff that I'm really hoping isn't on tape. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Right? Remember that? Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Yeah, this is something, man. Yeah. It's already been proven by the hotel video taken so long to be exposed that people can be bought. You're damn right. Right? Damn right. Absolutely, people can be bought. We've already heard more than that story, right? We've already heard about a place that had, what was it, $47,000 in damage done? 47K damage. How much lube did you squirt around the hotel room that you managed to do 47K in damage while having sex? 47 grand? Wow, they got wild with that stuff, right? That's a lot of stains. That really is. That's a lot of stains. But we know that there were a lot of people paid off. And Brown Spotted Eagle says they're all terrified. She's talking about Diddy's friends. They're all terrified, right? Busby even said the first day he did the press conference, the one that I covered with Joel, he and I did it live, right? He said, there are people not sleeping well tonight, right? There are athletes, there are stars, there are politicians, there are princes, right? There's a bunch of people that are having a really bad night's sleeps. You have heard or you have not heard yet. And I will tell you straight out, I don't know about this yet. But the big dogs are talking about a tape in existence, right? That is allegedly got Leonardo DiCaprio on it, right? And I'll tell you where I heard that, because you guys probably caught it if you were there paying attention. Popcorn Planet showed up in the chat for Sean's program. And he said in his super chat, hey, I don't know if you know this, but there is allegedly, there's a videotape that popped up today that is purported to have something to do with our boy Leo. Now, allegedly, he has been a part of Diddy's life for a really long time. Boy, have they got a bunch of pictures of them together, right? There's a lot of pictures of him at a lot of parties. And let's be honest. If I said, tell me something about Leonardo DiCaprio, skip the fact that he was in the movie Titanic, right? But start giving me some stuff that you think might describe the guy. People are going to say he dates supermodels, but not over the age of about 24, right? I mean, isn't that basically the word on him? Well, when you start getting to my age and you're still spending time with girls in their low 20s, that's I don't know, man. I'm not. It's legal, right? It's legal, but he seems to like women a little bit younger than normal. Let me finish that sentence. I like girls a little bit younger too, but it seems like he is always around a very beautiful girl who's also very, very young. You know what? We're going to do this. Thank you so much, Tampa B. I actually spoke to Spanx about this today. We have some allegedly stuff on the way. So I would look in the next couple of days and in the merch store. We're doing some changes in it right now. So that will be coming up shortly. Ain't no party like a Diddy party, but he gets butt hurt by his broken glass everywhere. I'll tell you something. Diddy's parties. Now, all of those people, right? This was the Studio 54 of our generation. The velvet rope that you wanted to get by in order to gain entry to a Diddy party, right? Because there were going to be big name people there. There were going to be stars. There were going to be athletes. There were going to be boobs everywhere, because this is a guy that liked to be surrounded by nakedness. And this kind of starts becoming it starts to outgrow itself. There is video of Jamie Foxx out there. Most people have seen it, but there's video out there of Jamie Foxx talking about how hard he was trying to get into a Diddy party, how he showed up with a camcorder and said, you need to get this, you need to have this recorded. Playboy, come on, man. Let me into this thing. This wasn't a no-name. This was Jamie Foxx trying to get into the Diddy parties, right? Leonardo out with the old, in with the new, under 24. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, Tampa B. Squirrel that zipper. You know what? Hold that thought, squirrel. People, I screwed up. The cat's basket is not there. She's looking at me like, why is there not a basket? There you go. Had to fix that real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I didn't know you had him living right around the corner from a huge channel. Does a lot of really good work, actually. Did I see the picture of Russell Brand and Diddy? And Russell is holding an egg in the picture. Made me feel icky, and I liked Russell Brand. Now, here's the thing. Before we crucify anybody, you got to be careful with this, people. You got to be careful with this. This is what it's going to come down to. If we keep this real, right? If we keep this real, there wasn't an A-lister that didn't show up at a party of this guy's at one time or another. And you have to understand that when they get to this level of fame, when you're an A-lister, you've got people who are talking to other people. So when the Diddy's 40th birthday party showed up, right? Anybody who was an A-list star got an invite. Anybody that was anybody. And people were showing up because it was one of those things that people wanted to see, right? You wanted to be seen at a Diddy party. This guy was an up-and-coming tycoon. Don't look at this crap through the eyes of 2024, right? Now we know stories that would lead us to believe, allegedly, this guy is a predator, right? Look at it through the 1990s eyes when there was no party like a Diddy party, right? And what was it all about? The Benjamins. Sean John Clothing was really kicking ass. And there was just so much. It seemed like everything this guy touched turned to gold. And a bunch of people were around him. The fact that there is an egg in the picture, Sherry, is disturbing as hell. If you don't know why, there was a phone call made from prison. And it is alleged that there was a ritual done with an egg being inserted into the backside of people that were trying to enter this little club. And if it broke, meaning you couldn't insert it into a guy's backside, then he wasn't ready for the club. He had to go out and put more work in. Allegedly, that was Suge Knight that said that. Suge Knight that made that allegation. So to see Russell Crowe in a photo with Diddy holding an egg, I find that uncomfortable. I find that really uncomfortable too, for sure. However, I think, yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't. I haven't seen the picture. I don't know. I'm also a little concerned with pictures. Honestly, there's so much fake. I've told this story on the boat, I don't know how many times, but there's somebody that was working with me who wanted to make the lifeboat bigger than it is and was really kind of doing some cutting edge stuff. But he had my phone ring. And when I answered my phone, I was talking to Tommy Scoville. I'm not kidding. Now, did it sound exactly like me? No, but not to me. But there are people who listen to this and it would respond. You could ask it questions. This was AI in my voice. And I'll tell you something. It creeped the hell out of me. It really did. It's creepy as hell. So I'm a little, I don't know. This is hard. This is a really weird time, people. This is such a, tell me when something like this has happened. Tell me when anything captured the imagination of a world, right? Of the world. People in other countries are looking at this Diddy stuff, right? I'm starting to think the people of Earth are suffering from Diddy Tourette's. Well, that's a legit thing. I mean, honestly, it is. We are, and there are people who say that this is the world's greatest psyop and that this is keeping us from watching what's really going on. Tell you what, if it's a psyop, it's a good one. It's a really good one. Shouldn't be a real shock that we are as transfixed as we are, right? It's got it all. It's got tons of money. It's got sex. It's got violence to the point of bodies, right? There are a bunch of people who are no longer with us, and we don't know what happened to them. That's an odd thing, right? Cases that are unsolved. Well, there's a lot of them around this guy. I'm not at all surprised that this has captured the imagination of the world the way that it has, right? Hey, squirrel. It's a little scary. It absolutely is a little scary. And I think it says a lot. I think it says a lot about the times that we're in right now. Steph says he's all about drug rehabilitation. He's been doing documentaries. Russell Brand, I really like him. Doesn't mean that he did anything just because he took a picture with Diddy. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The egg is a little odd. The egg is a little odd. But I'll tell you something. Barack Obama has pictures standing with Diddy, right? So does everybody else, and people love to make a big deal about it. Do you think Barack was at the freak-offs? Because I don't think so, right? I'm sorry. I don't think the Secret Service was kicking it around there so that the president could go and get his freak on. So the fact that these people showed up or whatever, Russell Brand is tied to the Fabian Society through the New Statesman magazine. You know what? Count of Saint Germain. I would have to research that. Now, I have heard the allegations that Russell Brand is a is a predator. I have heard those allegations. I sometimes wonder about people who really start to speak out because they're, Elon Musk, when he decided he wasn't a Democrat, the next day they accused him of SA. The next day. And up until that point, the press just treated him like he was a sacred cow. But the second he changed teams, we started to see some really ugly stories. And it's wrong. They're talking about a yoni egg or yoni egg. I'm sorry, what is yoni? Not a real egg with a shell, because you couldn't get that anywhere without it cracking an egg. Come on, man. I'm just telling you, allegedly, this is exactly what was said by Suge Knight. I promise you, Steph, I didn't come out with this, right? This is not something I alleged. This is something allegedly that Suge Knight alleges. And he said it. You can go and listen to it. It's from his podcast, which he does from prison, because damn, I don't know how you pull off a podcast from a federal prison. I really don't. But hold on one second. You know something? I think a lot of people look at industries that they really wanted to be a part of. For how long, in our country especially, I mean, I want to be a rock star, right? Like people say he's got rock star money, or he's living like a rock star. It's that rock star status. It's something you hear over and over again. And it's getting to the point now where you start going, hey, it's pretty damn creepy that to get into this club, allegedly, a lot of really, really bad stuff happened. You follow me? A lot of really, really bad stuff took place. And what Suge Knight alleges is that they took a raw egg. This is what he said on his podcast. It was a raw egg that they tried to insert into. Now, this is what was said, right? This is what was said. Wow. Court of St. Germain says he is a satanic demon on the scale of Jimmy Savile. That, folks, that's about as nasty as you can get. Jimmy Savile is an absolute scumbag. April Goodson, good to see you, or was, I should say. He is, of course, gone. And it's a really ugly, ugly story, right? It's terrible. There's way too much allegations to not doubt. See, and you're not gonna gain any popularity. I'll tell you something right now. No one's gonna gain any popularity. Thank you, Muffy Boiled Egg. No popularity contests by going against this currently. Every allegation that comes out is going to be believed, and I think that there's danger in that. There really is. This guy, according to Forbes, has got about $400 million, right? At the start of this trial, he was down to about $400 million. And there's a lawyer out there that literally stands with a 800 number, right? That freaking tall behind him. It has been alleged that over 14,000 people have called that number. How many of them do you think have never met Sean Combs? Because there's a bunch of them that haven't. And there's a bunch of them that just know that they were someplace alone with him at one time, right? I promise you, opportunists are opportunists. Like the guy from prison who filed a $100 million lawsuit against Diddy and actually got a judgment against Diddy. It was thrown out because the guy didn't serve the papers. Apparently he served the papers somewhere where Diddy didn't live. Probably not a great way to go about it, but there's a lot of proof. There's a lot now that says this guy never met Diddy. They never met each other. There's a lot, honestly, to point to the fact that this guy just made this up wholesale because he writes a pretty good legal draft. He's been doing this in the, he's a prison lawyer, a jailhouse lawyer. So he thought, I'll take a shot at it. Diddy came through Detroit a bunch. I don't know. There are going to be so many allegations. Not all of them are going to be true. I'm sorry. It's impossible that they could all be true. It's just, Attorneys on both sides are dealing with stuff they never have before. No precedence. There's never been a case like this. There never has been a case like this. There really hasn't. There has never been a case like this. Lisa B., good to see you. Glad to have you here. I love Shaun. I really do. And I'll tell you something. That's a courageous interview. That took huevos, because I would love to interview Jaguar Wright. I would be terrified to interview Jaguar Wright. I really would. She is definitely making a lot of people really angry. And the people that she's making angry aren't poor, right? These aren't people that don't have lawyers, right? These are people that have crap load of lawyers. We already saw what happened instantly, right? Right after she went on with what's his name? His name's escaping me. But the guy that had to come out and do an apology last week. Lisa B says it was badass. I mod for Shaun too. It was an incredible interview. It really was. So she's upsetting the apple cart, says A Tribe Called Duff. She is. She absolutely is. And Piers Morgan, thank you, Allison Metcalf Palumbo. The Carter camp, right? The Carter camp, that would be Jay-Z. His attorney called Piers Morgan's people and said, hey, you better get that down, or at least clear that out, right? Don't want that out there. This is my client. I don't dig what you've done. Better take it down. And he did. Okay? And he did. That's the Carters, once again, not poor, right? These people are purportedly worth over $1 billion. Does that number sink in? $1 billion, right? If you had a 1,000, right? If you had a $1 billion bill and you had 999 of them, you wouldn't be a billionaire, right? That's crazy. 1,000 $1 million bills would be $1 billion. That's a terrifying amount of money. It's a terrifying amount of money. And if you are a bit of a crim, right? Honestly, if you got a bit of the hood still in you, if you're a bit of the crim, if they had dumped money on me of that size when I was, say, in my 30s or 40s, oh, God help the world what I would have done. Honestly. And I mean, it wouldn't have been what he was doing, because my predilections are a little different, but it would have been pharmacies, and it would have been, I would have been abusing the power and the money to get drugs. You know, that would have been probably my big push. But these people have seemingly unlimited resources, right? Oh, another thing that Jaguar said was, if Sean Combs had not sued Diageo, this is the company that the parent company that owned Ciroc, that owned De Leon liquor, De Leon tequila. They're a big, huge company based out of Europe. She alleges that once he sued and said, I want my cut, I want my half, they had allegedly paid him $1 billion already. But he said, you've made way more than that. And they did. Made a fortune off him. But she alleges that when he sued, Diageo did all of this, right? That the big wigs that own Diageo, because of the color of his skin, you're not going to go up against those guys with that kind of money. And this is what happened. Am I telling you that that's not true? I'm not. I'm not challenging what she says. But another alternative is Diageo, who has, billions and billions of dollar market cap, saw the writing on the wall, right? Diddy knew this lawsuit was coming before it did, way before it did. I would imagine Diageo did too. And maybe they started going, let's back away from Ciroc, let's back away from De Leon, because this is about to explode. And this dude, the farther away he is from us, the better. Right? I think that that's a possibility. Right? I think that that's a possibility. She also said that the only reason Bill Cosby got hemmed up is because he wanted money from NBC for the Cosby Show, that he didn't get enough, and he started fighting NBC for money, and that's when all of these allegations came up. No way I can give you any kind of an intelligent, but I'll tell you this. I hadn't heard that even from her. You know, I hadn't heard that before, but this is, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And we're to the point now, I'm sorry, where we are hitting exponential growth in the Diddyverse, right? This really has become, it's taken over, hasn't it? It's taken over. And I said the other day, I absolutely came to realize that all of the stuff we're hearing, there's no chance they're going to pull off. Discovery by December 31st, right? Motions by February 17th. People, if you don't think there's a superseding indictment coming, I would really like to know if there are any casinos out there taking bets, because he's going to get charged with another crime. He's going to have to, right? He's going to have to. The prosecution isn't going to be able to handle the schedule that the defense set. The defense, right? Diddy's team wants a fast trial because there's so much friggin' information. They figure if they force him to get them all the discovery and their case in chief done by December 31st, they don't think the prosecution is going to be able to pull that off. You know how they can avoid that? They can hit him with a superseding indictment. They can charge him with another big crime that's going to blow all this out, because the judge is then going to go, well, there goes your speedy trial, Haas. You just got charged with another crime. And I think that that's probably what we're going to see happen. This is what, I mean, what can the feds do? What cards have they got to play? Well, they're the feds. They're the feds. They're going to hit him with a superseding indictment. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't eat his Jello shots. Wouldn't want to eat his Jello shots either. And you know, Danny Masterson just got mentioned here, and man, I did a lot on Danny Masterson during the trial. And I stopped talking about the guy because I did a show where I said this dude's a low life. He's locked up. If they carry him out in a body bag, I'll do a show on it, right? If we hear a story that, you know, he's a stain on the floor of the day room in some prison, I'm going to do a show on it. What I'm not going to do is keep talking about the dude every 2 to 3 weeks to try to get a paycheck, which for a while I think I was doing. You know, I'm covering this because the world wants to hear this straight up, and we were covering it before the entire world wanted to hear it. But I'm telling you right now, this is what the world wants to hear, and they want a platform where they can go and actually talk about it. I think it's such a fascinating thing to me that that Jaguar busts out the kind of conversations that she does, right? Honestly, I woke up in a police station in another city from alcohol. Alcohol is one of the worst drugs in the entire world. Make no mistake, alcohol is one of the worst drugs in the entire world. I work on watches, right? If you want to get water out of a watch and you've done the movement and you're done putting everything, you hit it with alcohol, right? Get all the moisture out of there before you put the lube or whatever, because alcohol just removes water, and it removes water from every cell of your body. Wake up in the morning with that hangover and you like put your mouth on the faucet, turn it on, and if you could drink for 20 minutes, you just can't get enough water in your body. That's because there's none left. The alcohol has literally sucked the water out of every cell in your body, and I promise you, it's not a good thing. Not a good thing. I work with a bunch of people every day who have drug and alcohol problems, and I have come to the realization that I have a much easier time with other drugs. No joke. I have an easier time with opiates. There's something about alcohol, and I think it's the pervasiveness. I think it's the fact that society says it's a lot more fun with alcohol, right? Let's celebrate. Would two good friends really? It's such a bullshit. Every commercial shows this, you know. Yeah, you know, this is interesting, right? This is interesting. Now, there are people who will say, honestly, and this is unlike the United States of America, right? There are other countries where defamation lawsuits, they will never, ever draw a defamation lawsuit against somebody unless they can get a crap load of money out of them, because there's really not a whole lot else that you're going to be able to do, right? Tribe Called Duff says, I'm allergic to alcohol. My body rejects it. You know, I believe it or not, I honestly think everybody's allergic to alcohol. I really do. Alcohol is called wine and spirits for a reason. Chris, very good. Very good. We're in a very odd spot. We're in a very, very odd spot that it is somewhat remarkable that she hasn't been sued. Now, there are people who will tell you that she doesn't have a great deal to get, right? That she had gotten basically run out of the industry, not legitimately, not because of her talent or anything like that. I don't think anybody argues that. She's got great pipes. She was she didn't make friends with some people that are really, really ugly. My sister George. Mary Reno says, it's just insane. And so many people. What's next? I shudder to ask. The world is going mad. Next, we'll be seeing pictures of Diddy with Mother Teresa. Well, allegedly, he's had sexual relations with his mother. Did you ever think you were going to hear anybody allege that? Well, that has been alleged. Now, a lot of the same people who allege that will tell you that that's not really his mother, it's his aunt. It's gotten to the point, right, where everybody's almost trying to outdo the next person, right? Monica says, how the hell did we get here? Once again, we love watching the mighty fall, right? This guy's a billionaire, right? Billionaire. We like watching the mighty fall. We also are really preoccupied with anything that goes on with sex, right? This is sex. This is violence. This is everything that sells, right? This is what Hollywood packages for the people. Only this is real. And I think the reason that we're freaking out the way we are, and you can disagree with me, but I think it's because most of us realized that this has been going on for a long time. You know, we all kind of assume that if you're a kid in Hollywood, you got done dirty, right? Every child star of my generation, you know, are gone, or they're just, you know, living in a van. It's a pretty horrific story, and it just keeps coming. This is honestly, can you? This makes a lot of sense, no? It's kind of peculiar how people have warned people about platforming Jaguar Wright, but not sued them or Jaguar. No, just me scratching my head. Here's the thing. She seems to speak with impunity, right? Like somebody who knows that everything that she's saying is real, right? I think that whatever side you come down on this, right? I promise you, whatever side you come down on this, no one wins. Russ Allen, good to see you. The Little Rascals kids went through it in the 1930s, and we know, right? We know about Dorothy. There's no one who doesn't know the story, right? Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz was being doped up by handlers in Hollywood before movies had gone color. This isn't new. It's not. It's this is ugly, ugly stuff, people. It's ugly, ugly stuff. But listen, when we finish this one, I'd like you to pop up in the comment section and just tell me if you believe this woman or not. Right? Leave a comment. And just I'm curious to know. Don't crap on anybody. Don't tell them. Just go in there and say, I agree. I believe her or I don't believe her. I am absolutely 100% convinced that a buttload of what she is saying is true. I don't know if it's all true. Some of it sounds so remarkable to me. I'm telling you, people, I'm struggling with the judge. I'm struggling with the judge. Right? That one's really hard for me. That one is really hard for me. And And if that is the truth, right, then who hired her? I think I read that she smoked 3 packs a day as a diet suppressant. Oh, my Lord. How bad is that? Yeah, Hollywood has always been a cesspool. Sorry. Okay, you know what? Thank you. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, right? Sandy Wendy, she seems credible as hell. She really does. And I've said this. She seems incredibly credible to me. But as a guy that spent a lot of time breaking the law, the fact that this woman owned a judge, right, was hired to own a judge, and she could walk into a courtroom and say guilty or not guilty, is something that I'm struggling with. I'm really struggling with. Very Young, I agree with you. This isn't about sex. It's about violence. It's also about control, right? Super about control. I tend to think that if this was sexual, right? Look at Ted Bundy, right? Sick dude, right? He had a style, didn't he? Like he had something. You knew he was looking for a brunette, right? Of a certain age, a certain height. There was definitely a type, and that is something you see kind of often. With Sean Combs, if the allegations are true, he didn't care if you were really old, really young, male, female, whatever, but there was always the element of control that was attached to it, right? There was always that element of control, right? It wasn't about, this isn't sex. Like if we believe the allegations from the kid who was in the Hamptons, right? White Party's story. Allegedly, he asked this kid to drop his trousers, and what he said was, what? Control instantly. This is how we find out if we can trust you, right? You want to be a rock star? This is what you're going to do. This is what we do. Like, this is part of the club. This is what you're going to do. And it keeps coming back to that control thing. It keeps coming back to that control thing. Back in the days, the studios used to have personal doctors for the actors and actresses just to keep them meek and under control. Why wouldn't they? I'm sorry. Why wouldn't they? I believe her because her and Allie Carter back each other up, says Lisa B. Once again, I don't. This is what I will say, and I think I will leave it with this. I listen to Orlando Brown, right? And so much of what Orlando Brown says literally sounds like he's trying to imitate Mork from the Mork and Mindy show. Like he's trying to act like maybe he's not even from this planet. But there seems to be this recurring theme. There's a video out there where he talks about making love to Diddy and to and a bunch of other really famous names. And when you hear him say it, people are laughing. I feel like a lot of damage has been done to a lot of people. And one of the reasons that these people sound like they're not all there is because in a lot of cases, they were abused so badly, right? Seriously. Imagine just being essayed or being art is the worst thing that you could endure. Then imagine finding out that he has it on film and he shows it to people for entertainment. I can literally see this driving people insane. It makes perfect sense to me. It really does. And I feel like there's a lot of people involved in this that the more we hear him talk, the more we start going, I feel like this person really got damaged. Catalina says it's a defense mechanism for Orlando Brown. And I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right. But it's weird how we hear people talking about the Illuminati and stuff that instantly, 90% of the population goes, he just said Illuminati. They're crazy. I'm out. Okay? Dave Chappelle mentioned the Illuminati. I don't think Dave Chappelle is crazy to you. I don't. And Dave Chappelle turned down how much money? $50 million and decided to run. Went to Africa, didn't he? Disappeared. $50 million. We kept hearing about that. Then Cat Williams says, 4 or 5 times he's turned down $50 million to protect his integrity and his virginity. It's exactly the way he said it, too. Very close to the way he said it. Allison Metcalf Palumbo says, Jim Carrey. Possibly he experienced some of this or witnessed it, and now he's perceived as crazy. Anybody who doesn't, anybody that starts talking about Hollywood the way it is, when they start talking about it like it's a disgusting place. This isn't real. What happens here, this isn't real. This isn't part of the real world. This is just listen to the stuff that Jim Carrey says. You're right, he isn't popular anymore, is he? Right? He's really not very popular anymore. Catalina, you know what? Comment of the day. Dave Chappelle is so sane that it's insane how sane he is. Say that 3 times fast. But you're right. I agree with you 100%. He is so sane that it's insane how sane he is. Yeah, you know what? 80% in Carnosol, 80% of the people in prison are in there for drugs, one way or another, right? I robbed banks, promise you. I wasn't in there because I was, in movies, people rob banks and buy Ferraris, right? It doesn't work like that. People rob banks to buy drugs. Trust me, if someone's robbing a bank, it's because they got a really bad drug habit, because you got to be out of your mind. No one in their right mind robs banks. They don't. In movies, maybe. In the real world, nobody in their right mind does that. It's true. Like I said, she's consistent and very relaxed. And she even gets emotional, I believe. Here's the thing. Martin Lawrence went running into the street yelling against the establishment. Yeah, he did. Martin Lawrence is another one that ran outside naked screaming. This a recurring theme. This is something that happens a lot. It really does. It happens way too much for that occupation. I think we're going to see an awful lot of ugly, ugly stuff. Juggernaut says legalize opiates. You know what? As sad as it is, there's just as much of an argument for at this point for legalization as there is for not, and that substance owns me. Right? That's the substance that has my number, frightens me more than any other. But it's certainly right now, there is not a safe supply for people who are addicted to opiates. And that's a terrifying thing. It's a terrifying thing. I'm going to do a show tonight where I talk about that too, 7 o'clock California time. Going to be talking about, show up. It's a good one. I promise you. This world has gone crazy, and we need all the ones we can get to get through this. Katie did. I understand where you're coming from. The only problem is that the people out there who are addicted to opiates, and there is a very sizable amount of them in this country, are now going to buy drugs from a supply that we know is poisoned. It's the number one cause of death in our country. And they're doing things like handing out fentanyl test strips. Unfortunately, iso and phytonitazines are now nits or nights or whatever you want to call them, are now just as pervasive as fentanyl, and those strips aren't going to test for them. They're also 40 times stronger than fentanyl. We're in a bad place, and we don't have test strips that I know of yet for xylazine, and that's a pretty ugly substance that should never be mixed with any opiate, and sure as hell should not be put into somebody's bloodstream. Nana, glad you're here. Well, I'll tell you something. Juggernaut says nobody dies from natural opium, and I'll tell you this. People may not believe this, but you cannot believe how easy it is to bring somebody back who overdoses on H. I'll tell you straight out, I never lost anyone. I was a junkie for a really long time. Nobody ever OD'd around me and died. Never lost one because it was not difficult. It was time consuming, right? It takes a long time. But it was not difficult. It just took a lot of time and a lot of effort. Make sure they keep breathing. Sternum rubs, beating the crap out of the bottom of their feet. All these things to make them really uncomfortable so that they would take that breath, because respiratory depressants get to a point where you probably all know somebody that has sleep apnea, and they fall asleep in the chair and make that horrible noise before they start breathing again. You're like, did grandpa stop breathing? Sleep apnea, he'll start breathing again. Opiates relax you so much that when that stops, when the respiratory depression causes you to, your body's not going to fight it. You're just going to go into the great beyond. Yeah, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Amazingly, I have never overdosed in my life, and I tried like hell to do it on an occasion where I spent $350 on dope and shot all of it. Couldn't get it into a syringe. I had to do it in multiple syringes. The idea being that I was going to go to sleep and not wake up, and it didn't work out. I have a vicious tolerance. I was always different than other people. I really was. I mean, everyone I know has OD'd. Everybody. It never happened to me. In fact, I usually didn't nod until about 2 a.m. And by then I had done, somewhere between 7 and 9 grams. I had a really vicious opiate habit. Heroin habit is what I had. All right, people. I am going to be firing up the boat at 7 o'clock my time. I hope to see all of you there. It's going to be a good one. People, tell me in the chat, right? Tell me in the comments after this video. Tell me if you think Jaguar's legit. Or tell me if you think she's not. Because I'll tell you something. She's fascinating. And she's not going away. She's a part of this now. I mean, you can't think of Diddy without thinking of her. I can't. Really curious to know what you think. Give me your opinion. I am the Admiral. We'll see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. All right? Bye-bye.